Alright, as promised, I'm going to get started on this 406 build. I did actually decide it is going to be a 406. So this is a small block Chevy 400, 30 over. I've already had it machined, decked, bored, line honed, cam bearings, freeze plugs, all that jazz is ready to go. We talked about it in a previous video, but here's some of the components that I've purchased so far. Basically, I've got the Eagle 4340 forge crank, the Howard's rods, they are the I-beams, we'll go over those, and then the Icon forged pistons. The reason why I went with these Howard's rods is they're rated really good horsepower-wise. I think it's somewhere in the range of 650, 700 horsepower, and they're quite a bit lighter than like an Eagle or a Scat as far as the H-beam, and then they're a lot stronger than the Eagle or Scat I-beams. So it was a good balance of strength and weight. Same deal with these pistons. We went with a little bit of a lighter piston setup. Since this is going to be a naturally aspirated build, I want to keep the rotating mass low to help essentially not rob power with a heavy rotating assembly, or with a lighter rotating assembly, it's free horsepower. So pick these components real selectively because of that reason. And then here's the reality: is this engine's going to make somewhere in the neighborhood of 525, 550 horsepower, somewhere in the neighborhood around 525, 535 torque. We still have room to grow rods, pistons, and crank wise, so that gives us plenty of room. Basically, going through everything, just going to start assembling and hanging the pistons today, marking them, numbering them, indexing everything, check the ring gaps, and just going over everything. But another bonus is this internally balanced, so we don't have to worry about any certain flex plate or balancer. I can use any of the small block Chevy stuff. Also, with the internal balance, you don't have, it seems to be a little bit more accurate at higher RPM. So I don't have any direct results from that, but I see most commonly any higher revving engine, you're going to have it internally balanced. So we kept our weights a little bit lower, and we went with the internal balance just for we can turn it a little higher. But reality to this build is 6,500 red line. It's going to peak, I'd bet, around 6,300, 6,200. So just a good pump gas street engine. Most likely, 100% it's going to have a hydraulic roller cam. I know roughly what specs I'm going to go with just off of kind of what I've came up with in my head. That's something I like to do. I like to design, or at least pick out, camshaft selection for different engine combinations. Circle track car I did. This car is a custom cam. I did some of it. I'm not going to say I did all of it, but I spec'd it all out. So something I enjoy doing there. So I'm going to end up speccing this cam myself, or picking a camshaft that matches the specs I come up with. So we'll get onto that in another video, but for now, I'll check out these pistons real quick before we start hanging them. Grab one out. One thing you will notice is I'm wearing gloves. That's to prevent the oil from your hands creating rust on any of these components. So let me set you guys down for a second. I'm going to unwrap one of these. These are just a flat top 2-valve relief Icon forged piston. What I like about these, you'll notice the short skirt on them. I'm talking about this area right here. Equals a little bit less drag and a little bit less weight. So again, kind of free horsepower there. I want to measure this top ringland, and I'll point to it right there. That's your top ringland. That's normally a weak point when you start making real big power, as far as like nitrous. You know, say that was a 240 thousandths ringland, and I'm talking about the thickness of that right there. About a 200 shot is as much as you're going to want to do. I've done 225 on a ringland similar to that. I think it was 240, and I was fine, but anything more than that, you're going to end up breaking that top ringland off. So with boost, you can actually get away with quite a bit more power with a ringland similar to this. But just by looking at it, I know, say I was to add 150 shot to this of nitrous, this piston will be absolutely fine. But I do want to measure it and see what the exact numbers are. Then I'll most likely, pretty darn positive, I'm going to gap the rings with 150 shot or a little bit of boost in mind for down the road. And that was part of my plan in purchasing some of these items. Is the rods have room for more power, the pistons have room for more power. The crankshaft I'm using, I've made 1,000 horsepower with that crankshaft previously, so I know I'm good there. Really the limitation I see us running into as far as making power, if we wanted to get crazy with this thing, is going to be the block itself. It is a stock block, it is a 4-bolt, but 400s being 4 bolts sometimes can be almost weaker than a 2-bolt splayed, just because of where the outer bolts pull at. But honestly, I don't plan on getting carried away with this thing. It's going to be 10.5 to 1. It's going to be on 93 hydraulic roller. I'll talk about cylinder head, intake manifold, and camshaft in a different video. But it's going to be a super street friendly engine that basically I'm going to end up putting a 323 gear in the car from a 373. Just be a great cruising engine, but also make really good power, really good torque. But if most people that know me, I can't leave anything alone, so it wouldn't surprise me if I add some type of boost down the road or a power adder of some sort. So that's why I'm going to keep that in mind. It tends to happen around here. So I think that'll be it for today, and I'm just going to start hanging these pistons and rods and then numbering everything, and then I'll give you guys another video of once I get a little further with this project. Thanks.